Hello and welcome to the iPod Nano 6th Gen Ultimate Repair Guide. In this video, we're replacing the screen, battery, headphone jack, and the buttons. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So yeah, this is probably one of the easier iPod Nanos to repair, to be honest. It's just a lot easier to take apart compared to the 4th and 5th gen specifically. Yeah, so in order to take it apart, all we need to do is just take that screen off first. So I do that just using one of those plastic pry tools. And mine had already started coming up quite a bit in this one, so it came off very easily. But yeah, I just grab one of those plastic tools and put it in between the glass and the metal and just work your way around the outside, and it should come up pretty easily. You can use a bit of heat as well if you want, but you'll probably find it's not necessary a lot of the time. I would stay away from using isopropyl alcohol in this model though, because if you do, most likely it'll just end up going behind the backlight there, and you'll just get marks behind the backlight. And after you get it off, you'll notice that all those components on the LCD flex there are just sort of tucked in behind the frame, so just gently pull it up and be careful with those, I guess. Yeah, now we got to take out that mid plate there, and that's just held in with 2 screws, so yeah, get your screwdriver and take those out. They are different sizes, so you do want to use like a parts tray or a magnetic mat like what I'm using here, just to keep track of where they go, I guess. Otherwise you might have some trouble reassembling it later if you have to figure out where all those screws go. Yeah, now just taking that mid plate out, it just pops up from the side there. And yeah, now to disconnect the screen. So that's just held on with one of those, or with 2 of those Lego style connectors, those clip ones. So you can either use your fingernail or you can use the plastic tool again to get those off. But yeah, as you can see, I try getting it off with the blunt plastic tool and I don't get anywhere, so use a new one with the fine pointier tip, just it'll be a lot easier. Yeah, and the ribbon on the ribbon that's closest to the headphone jack is for the headphone jack and the buttons, and then the other 2, one of them's for the touch and the other one's for the screen itself. So yeah, after those are out, just take that whole screen out. There might be a bit of adhesive holding those flex cables down there as well, but so just be a bit careful not to rip anything. And yeah, now that that's out, there is one screw holding that logic board in there still, so just grabbing your screwdriver and undoing that. And yeah, now the battery and the logic board are just held in there with a bit of adhesive as well. Oh yeah, and before I take that out, I take off this little bit of tape that's covering over the 30 pin port there, just because I wasn't sure if there was another screw holding that in, holding the logic board in, so I just took that off to check, but there wasn't. But still, it's a good idea to take bits of tape off like that, just because sometimes there is a little screw hiding underneath a bit of tape, and if you miss it, then that won't be good. But yeah, there wasn't in this case. To take the battery out, just getting your plastic tool or your tweezers and just prying it up gently. Yeah, the adhesive holding this stuff down isn't that strong, so it comes up pretty easy. And yeah, just prying your logic board out from the back like that. And yeah, now's a good time to inspect the logic board for any water damage. As you can see, this one actually did have a bit of water damage on it, so it wasn't enough to actually prevent the board from working, but if you leave it, it could in the future become worse and worse. So yeah, water damage is just that green, white, corrosion looking substance thing that forms on the logic board. Yeah, and how that works is when the water gets in there, it just reacts with the metals and then starts corroding. So it doesn't always corrode to the point where stuff stops working, like in this case, but it's a good idea to get rid of it anyways. So usually if it does corrode to the point where stuff stops working, it'll be like the corrosion will completely have eaten through like a trace or a pad or a component or something like that. So yeah, but it is pretty common on a lot of these electronic devices, especially the iPods, because this is from a time before most devices were waterproof. So yeah. So now just taking this over to the microscope. And first I remove that battery. There is a little bit of this gunk sort of stuff, this rubber coating that they put over the connection points. So you want to get that off first just by giving it a scrape with the tweezers. And then yeah, just put some flux and put some solder and get your soldering iron and take the wires off there and do that for both wires. One's on the top, one's on the bottom. Yeah, now that that battery's off, I just like to give the board a spray down with the alcohol, and I'll use a toothbrush just to get rid of all of that corrosion that I was talking about earlier. And yeah, this does a pretty good job of getting rid of it. You won't be able to see much after this of the water damage. So yeah. And now to put that new battery back on, first just put some flux over the pads and take some solder and get a nice little amount going on the pads. Now we take our new battery, and it's the the negative lead on the bottom here and the positive wire on the top, or the red wire. And my battery had some pretty short leads, so there wasn't much room for error, but I was alright, I got it on the first try. So yeah, and then just repeating the same thing for the positive wire there. Now that we've got that soldered in, just grab a Q-tip with some alcohol and wipe off all that excess flux that's probably sitting all over the joints there. And now that's ready to be put back in the iPod. But before we reassemble it and all that, I'll just show how you would change the buttons and headphone jack flex. So if yours isn't broken, you can skip this part and just go straight to the reassembly. But if you've got broken buttons or headphone jack, I'll walk you through exactly how to repair that now. So it's as one big flex cable that you'll have to take out here for both the buttons and the headphone jack. And that's just held in with 4 screws along the top, and then another screw sort of at the bottom there next to the headphone jack. And again, these are all different size screws as well. So yeah, using your magnetic mat. And this bit's pretty fragile. You could pretty easily break this if you're not really being too careful. So yeah, you do want to take your time a little bit with this. Just once those screws are out at the top, you can just push down a little bit and you can get those 2 pieces out. Yeah, the buttons fall out pretty easily there. Yeah, and that flex cable will be adhered down to the side of the iPod there as well. So you want to use some isopropyl alcohol to weaken that adhesive, because if you don't, it can rip pretty easily, and we want to avoid that obviously. Or I guess if you're replacing it, yours will probably already be broken, so you might not have to be that careful. But in this case, mine was working. I'm just taking it out and putting it back in to show you the process. So yeah, now using your tweezers to pull that up off the bottom there, so that whole piece is adhered down. You could probably use like a knife, one of those X-Acto knives, or a box cutter blade as well if your tweezers aren't working there. And now just pulling that out from the headphone jack, yeah, give it a wiggle there, and that whole assembly will just come straight out. Now if your replacement one doesn't have those metal pieces at the top, you may have to salvage those from this as well. So yeah, but yeah, if you do have to replace that part, you can probably find it on AliExpress or something like that. And also, for whatever reason, if you needed to replace that back clip, that's actually just held on with 3 screws as well. Because I know a lot of the other iPods with those clips, you can't actually take the clip off, but this one, you can. Just held in with 3 little screws there. And there you go, it comes straight off. Again, there's a bunch of text that's under there that you couldn't actually see otherwise, but yeah. And once you take that off, it actually makes the iPod a lot smaller and thinner. So I don't know, if you don't use the clip, it might actually be a good mod just to make the iPod like thinner, because it's probably like half the size now that clips off. Takes up quite a bit of room. But yeah, I wouldn't take this off if you don't have to, because as you can see, the spring mechanism sort of goes in past usually where it would go, and it makes it a little bit difficult to reattach. But yeah, I ended up getting it back on, but yeah, it's just a little bit difficult. And now that it's off, it's a good time to give it a whole clean, I reckon, because there's a bunch of like dirt and stuff that gets in between the clip there that you usually can't get out otherwise. So I just gave it a wipe down with the isopropyl alcohol and everything before putting it back together. And yeah, so the clip's a bit difficult to get back in, but if you put it on a bit of an angle like this and use the black screw first, because that's a bit longer, then yeah, you can get it back. You could also put a different coloured clip on from another iPod Nano 6 Gen, I guess, if you really wanted to, and then it would look a little bit custom, because there's not much else you can do to customise this iPod. And now putting that headphone jack buttons flex back in. Yeah, we want to make sure we get the button switch in the correct order there when we put that back in, so it's the negative to the outside and the positive to the inside, because yeah, if you got that the wrong way around, then it'll be a pretty confusing iPod to use, I reckon. Yeah, it goes in exactly the same way as it came out, so it is a little bit fiddly, I guess, but I mean, if you get it out, you can get it back in. Just positioning it up there, putting in your screws. Yeah, there's not much to say about that really. Pretty straightforward. Just take your time and be careful, because it is thin and fragile. And yeah, once we've got the headphone jack flex back in, now we can just reinstall the logic board and the battery, which goes in just like this. Put it like the 30-pin connector first, because I think that slots in sort of thing. Yeah, it's a bit difficult getting the battery in there as well, because I think it's like, it sort of tucks its way in there. And because the wires were so short on mine, it was just a little bit fiddly, but you know, I ended up getting it back in. No problems. Yeah, now that that's back in, just put your screw in to hold it all in place. Now clip in your headphone jack. and plug in your screen as well. And yeah, before we put it all back together, now's a good time to test it. Now that we've got the screen plugged in, so just hold your power button down and turn it on. And if it doesn't look like it's turning on like mine was there, if you switch it on before you've got the screen plugged in, sometimes once you plug the screen in, it'll show no display, so you'll have to restart the iPod in order to get the screen to function. But you haven't broken anything there. That's how most of these iPods work. If you turn it on and start pressing buttons before you got the screen plugged in, it'll just show a blank screen. So yeah, just restart it, and in order to do that, just hold the power button, and I think it's the volume up button as well at the same time, for about 8 seconds, and then it'll restart. Pretty sure it's the volume up, it might be the volume down, but just try those, and then yeah, you'll get in. And once it's on, you'll just want to check the touch functionality especially, so just scroll around all the menus and make sure every part of the screen is working properly. And then you want to test your volume buttons, your lock switch, and your headphone jack as well. And once you're happy with that, now we can move on to getting it all back together. So now this mid plate we took out earlier, you don't really have to put that back in, to be honest. If you don't, it'll work just as well. Yeah, it'll probably be easier to reassemble if you leave that mid plate out as well, because those components on the LCD flex that you got to tuck in the corner there's not much space for them, and when you take that plate out, they have more space, I guess. But for the sake of completeness, for the sake of the video, I'll just put it back in anyways. I guess it holds down those connectors there a little bit. It sort of clamps them down. So yeah, but other than that, it doesn't really do much because the screen doesn't adhere to that at all. Oh yeah, but before we even put that in, you want to grab a Q-tip with some isopropyl alcohol and just wipe down all the adhesive that's on the outside there, because there's really not very much space for the glass to get adhered down onto the frame there, so we got to get that as clean as we possibly can. And yeah, you do want to use alcohol as well, because if you just use like your finger or water or something like that, then there's still going to be a bunch of oils and stuff left over, which is not good. But with the alcohol, it'll remove all the oils from your fingers as well, and all the oils from the old adhesive, which will make it stick a lot better. So yeah, always want to be using alcohol when doing projects like this for getting that adhesive off. And yeah, now putting our mid plate back in. Yeah, I made a bit of a mistake here, as you can see with the mid plate. It didn't go in fully in the corner near the headphone jack. It's sort of sticking up a bit, and so I figured that out here as to why the screen's not going back down. And I'll just take out the screw and put it back in properly. And then once that's in, just put your 2 screws in. And yeah, now to adhere that screen back onto the front there. So when you're doing this, you've really got 2 options. You can either use a double-sided adhesive, or you can use a glue. And in this case, I would probably always recommend using a glue, because there's just not very much space to work with when using an adhesive. You can get these like pre-cut 3M branded adhesives for these, but I've used those in the past and I found they're not actually that sticky. So I'd go with the B7000 glue, because I find that to be the strongest and the best in this case. If you were to use a double-sided tape, you'd have to use a strong one, probably a phone-specific one, because yeah, there's not that much space for it to be gripped on. And another rookie mistake, which I could see other people making as well, is to try and adhere the back of the LCD to the mid plate, and that wouldn't work either, because that shiny silver bit on the back of the LCD is literally just taped on that reflective piece. So if you were to do that, the screen's probably just going to fall out and fall apart anyways. So yeah, you want to adhere it down from the bezel there, not from the back of the screen. So yeah, just grabbing some of your B7000 glue. This stuff's really good. Oh yeah, and another thing, obviously don't use that hard drying super glue, because if you do and you drop it again, it'll be an absolute pain in the butt to get back off. So yeah, getting your B7000, just putting a bit of a coating around the whole thing. I put a generous amount, but not too much. If you put way too much, it might seep in behind the backlight as well, which is obviously not good. So yeah, put a decent amount around all 4 sides. The side, yeah, one of the sides is very limited. The side where the flex cables go in, there's really not much space for it to grab there. So yeah, just do your best. Yeah, so when we put the screen back in, we have to tuck those cables in behind the frame there as well, just as we did when we took it out. And yeah, now pushing down that front glass, and yeah, just holding it in place for like a minute while it initially sets, otherwise it'll just pop straight back out. And once it has started to dry off a little bit, we can wipe down all the adhesive that's seeped over the cloth there, or with some isopropyl alcohol. But yeah, so that glue is obviously not dry yet, so we can't just start using the iPod straight away. We'll have to wait probably overnight before we can actually start using the iPod again. And yeah, so we have to keep that screen clamped down as well, because yeah, if we don't, then it's obviously just going to fall back out, even with the glue, because you got to wait till the glue actually dries before it'll hold the screen in. So what I like to do is grab some rubber bands and put those around the screen, and that'll just hold it down. I guess you could also put it in between some books, just whatever floats your boat there. But yeah, at this stage we're pretty much done now. All you have to do is just give the iPod a wipe down and let that glue set, and there you have it, a fully fixed, fully refurbished iPod Nano 6 Gen, ready to be used for whatever you want to use it as. Yeah, you could actually use this iPod as a watch. All you have to do is get one of those little armbands and then set it as a clock, and you've got a smartwatch that was like nearly a decade ahead of its time. Or not a decade, maybe like 5 years. But anyways, I thought it was pretty cool. This is probably one of the coolest iPods, I reckon, just because it can do that. But yeah, that's it for this one. So if you liked it, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, check out my website where I sell a bunch of iPods like this. And if you have an iPod like this that you want to get fixed, but you don't have the confidence or the ability to do it yourself, you can book a mail-in repair on my website and I can do it for you. So yeah, just check that out. Yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.